Jameson Williams has been traded for a 7th round pick to the Dallas Cowboys. Can we get off now? Can we get off air now? What are we doing?
Season 37 of the Jameson Williams saga. Well, here we are. We had a nice little mock draft plan for tonight, but just I don't know. There's a little smoke. There's just a little smoke behind Jameson Williams' name, and we're going to dive into it today. We're going to see where there's smoke, if there's fire. Set the table.
Listen, before we get going, hit that subscribe button because I don't even know if you're going to want to hit the subscribe button if you get too far into this show. So hit it if you haven't hit it already. Also, we got this 100 member giveaway, or 100. Oh yeah, it is going to be a giveaway, but it's 100 member giveaway when we get to 100 members. So if you would be so kind to be a member to Detroit Den 313, we will look out for you and take care of you handsomely. So that said, setting the table, it's pretty much all over the place. It's been buzzing all day and really before today, but it seems like it got really hot today. Jameson Williams reportedly being shopped around by the Detroit Lions, and reportedly means that someone reported it because Brad Holmes ain't reported it. But yeah, it is buzzing around a little bit right now. So that's going to be the premise of today's show. Steve, initially, how you feel?
It makes no sense for the Detroit Lions to trade Jameson Williams to me. It makes no sense. This is a team that's knocking on the door of a Super Bowl. Like we're right there. Why would we want to shop and give up one of our best offensive weapons, one of our best offensive playmakers that when he touches the ball, magic happens? Why? I can understand why 2-3 years from now, why when that contract's up, I can understand why then. But right now, today, April 22nd, 2025, it doesn't make sense to me. If this is the year 2026, I might be able to sit down and have a reasonable conversation about why it would make sense. But right now, today, Will, I just can't see how it would make the Lions better.
But Steve, did you see the tweet today or the Instagram post that said that he's really angry with the Detroit Lions and he wants out of Detroit? Did you see that today?
You mean stuff like this?
Yeah, that means that he obviously they sat him down and told him today that they were trading him. It's obvious, isn't it?
I guess it's very. I guess we're the two idiots who just don't see it. Well, I don't know. They say, and again, I've told you this before. If you played high stakes poker and you can't spot the sucker at the table within 10 minutes, you're that sucker. So maybe we're just the two suckers today, Will. And I don't know. I don't know where this is all coming from.
Yeah. Bottom line for me is, first things first, I'll say this. This could have easily been about something that has nothing to do with the Detroit Lions. There was also comments being said today that Jamo has now stopped following the Detroit Lions on social media, who he already wasn't following. So it's not a new thing. And then a lot of players don't follow the Detroit Lions because they are Detroit Lions and they see all of the Detroit Lions all the time. So it's not a big deal for a lot of them to be following the Detroit Lions. So I just say pump the brakes on this whole thing. And it's just another Jamo thing, man. Another Jamo thing that we got to get on here and talk about and defend. I was pretty pumped about doing our trade back scenario that we had. But it's so hot today that I do feel like it was worth talking about, and people are asking us to talk about it as well. And asking why we haven't been talking about it. So giving my true 2 cents, I'll say this. I don't believe Jamo's getting traded. I really don't. And I'm not going to say never, but I don't think he's getting traded before the draft or on draft day. I just don't believe that this is a thing. And even if he was getting traded, there was a guy named DeAndre Swift. And when he got traded, it was news to him. He was like, other people were calling him like, well, hey, hold on, wait, I'm out. I'm going to Philly. What? Well, there's no way. Because what if the draft day trade fell through? Do you think the Detroit Lions sat him down and said, hey, listen, man, we're trading you, man. We're trading you. Or even we're shopping around trading you. And then the trade falls through, and then you got to figure out a way to get him back on board with the culture and the team and wanting to be it just doesn't make sense to me. Honestly, I don't know. Like you said, maybe we're just the two idiots that are completely off base here, but there's only, similar to what Brad Holmes said about Aiden Hutchinson. He said, there's a handful of edge rushers that are truly special in the NFL. We happen to have one on our team. There's a handful of guys who could potentially score a touchdown every single time he touches the football. There's a handful of them. We happen to have, I think, two of them on our team in Jahmyr Gibbs and Jameson Williams. But uh, I just don't think that you trade a guy like that for a rookie who you don't know what you're going to get out of, right? So there's not a draft pick that I think that Jameson Williams is worth trading, especially I can't even think of a one receiver in this whole entire draft that I would be willing to trade Jameson Williams for. So Steve, for those reasons, I don't think that this has any legs. Like if I had to go with the percentage that I thought of chance of Jamo getting traded on draft day for draft equity or really anything for that matter, I would say negative percentages. Yeah, 1% out there. Don't see Jamo getting traded. Don't think this is a thing. I hate that it's getting talked about and speculated. And maybe that's what Instagram story was about, how quickly some of these people are willing to turn on you and trade you, because there was a lot of people that I seen on social media tweeting and posting stories, Facebook posts about how Jamo has been this problem for the Detroit Lions, and if they can get something for him right now, then they need to go ahead and do it. So, Steve, is there any world where you see yourself trading Jamo right now?
I won't say a negative percent chance, but I might put myself in like a 5% boat, like very, very, very low chance. Like I said, it just doesn't make sense for this year. You still have Jameson Williams for 2 more years. You have next year and you have the 5th-year option. His contract's locked in. Why would I want to trade something like that for, like you said, an unproven rookie? And I think if you trade Jameson Williams, I think that kind of means you have to draft a wide receiver in this draft. And again, like you said, am I getting a wide receiver in this draft that's better than Jameson Williams? No, but you might get to reset the time clock on a rookie deal. That would be the only thing, but I don't think that the risk is worth the reward in that aspect, in my opinion. So it just doesn't make sense. Look, I don't know where this comes from. I've been seeing the chatter for a couple like weeks now. I don't know. I think some people wrote some like BS what if articles, and I think it's just kind of spiraled out of control where someone from like a major network read it and kind of said, "Oh, this must be a Detroit Lions insider. Hey, the Detroit Lions are shopping Jameson Williams." That's my idea is what I think happened here, because no one from the Lions organization said a word. Not even real beat writers. I'm talking about some like independent writers who I won't mention by name, who post some stupid shit, and it just kind of circulates around the world. And I get it. Sometimes we have some conversations and speculation about some things, and we at least put our name and a face and a voice behind it. We don't sit back on a computer and type up an article and send it out to Twitter, and who knows where it ends up. Like, we're here, we show up. You can leave a comment. You can see me out in public and call me an idiot all you want, I guess. But I don't know. I think that's where this whole thing kind of started, because no one from the organization spoke a word. But it does make me kind of wonder, because I know in one of Brad Holmes' press conference, he did say, sometimes we might have to be in a position where we have to make a tough decision on a young player. So that's really the only thing I can think of. But he was very vague, very cryptic, didn't mention anyone by name when he said that. And I'm paraphrasing what he said. But I don't think that this is the year to be trading Jameson Williams.
I think when he said that, I was taking it as he was speaking to re-signing the guys that he had on this roster, not whether or not he should be or he should entertain trading some of these young guys. But like I said, maybe next year, 5th-year option, he's like, hey, let me get out from under this contract that I know is coming down the road, and I know I'm not going to re-sign him, so let me get something for him. Maybe. But I don't see why you do it right now, this season coming up. So unless he's done something secretly under the table that we don't know about, and Jamo doesn't do too much, I don't know, breathe, that we don't know about, the world don't know about. I mean, the dude does anything, and it's worldwide news. So I don't know, man. But I do got more questions while we're here, Steve.
Fire him up. Let's have a conversation, William.
Because things are popping around Detroit right now. And I will say this. I don't know if people are desperate right now, which I don't understand it, because the draft is a couple of sleeps away.
Yeah.
Like, what are you desperate for? Well, I don't understand it, but TJ Watt, Steve. TJ Watt is bouncing around pretty heavy as well, too. Yeah, Pittsburgh Steelers, he got a contract coming up. Don't know. Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be able to pay him. Maybe Pittsburgh Steelers are going into I don't even know. I don't think they're going into a rebuild, even though their quarterback situation is kind of a mess. I still think they got a pretty doggone good football team. But It seems to be thought that the Pittsburgh Steelers may be moving on from TJ Watt. Obviously, anytime an edge rusher is just whispers of potentially being available, the Detroit Lions are obviously bringing them in. Mm-hmm. So, Steve, do you see a path for TJ Watt coming to the Detroit Lions?
No. Is it interesting? Does he interest me? Yes. Is that too big of a move that Brad Holmes hasn't made yet? He hasn't made a big splashy move other than in the draft and trading up. He hasn't drafted or traded for anyone significant. Za'Darius Smith, is that his biggest trade piece? So I don't see TJ Watt being when I say caliber of player, I'm talking caliber of player that Brad Holmes would trade for, like perennial Pro Bowler, All Pro, Hall of Fame bound. Like the name Watt just makes some noise in the NFL. I don't know where that's coming from either. Saw it. I've seen some stuff. Again, the Twitter world goes crazy around this time of year. There has not been same thing. No real major articles from the NFL. I don't know what's going on with the Pittsburgh Steelers organization. I'm with you. I think they have a solid team. Quarterback questions. Maybe they can get that up in the draft. We've talked about being a trade partner with them, helping them out, helping us out. I don't know, but TJ Watt, man, he is one of the GOATs of pass rushing. So when that's a need for us, it kind of does perk my ears and my interest. And I wish we could provide you guys with a solid article to reference in this, but it's really just the same thing as Jameson Williams. There's just a lot of smoke. We don't really know if there's any real fire there, but does TJ Watt interest me? 1,000%. Do I think Brad Holmes is going to make that type of trade? No, I don't.
Yeah. I'm gonna come back to TJ Watt for good reason, but I'm in the same boat as you. I don't think that there's a lot of traction there either. Sorry to disappoint people. I know some people are going to be upset because we obviously should mortgage the team to get guys like this, but I just don't think that that's in the cards for the Detroit Lions. And as long as Brad Holmes is in charge, and I'm 100% with him, I stand with him. I don't think it would be a good idea to mortgage this team to get one marquee guy, man. So the next one. And I feel like this one is a little bit more reasonable potentially, but I did hear this one buzzing around a little bit. It's another team that we've talked about as a potential trade partner with us as far as the Detroit Lions. What about Kavon Tibido?
No interest in Kavon Tibido. We could have drafted Kavon Tibido. Like we took Aiden Hutchinson instead of him. So I don't see the need to go out and trade. I'm assuming the New York Giants probably want, I would guess, at least a second-round pick for Kavon Tibido. I'm not doing that. I think that this is the draft where we have plenty of edge rushers. I thought you were going to go in a whole different direction. If you don't ask, Will, I will at the end of this. But am I interested in Kavon Tibido? Not really. He's just not my type of guy. Like I think he's just purely a pass rusher. I don't think he's a team guy. I remember him when he got drafted by the Giants saying, this is good for his brand. So I don't consider him like a team player. I think he's just kind of looking out for himself, which is fine. It's the NFL, not for long. Not my style. Well, I got my eyes on some guys in the draft that I think will be eventually better than Kavon Tibido.
Yeah, I just don't think he's a fit with the Detroit Lions either. That's just the bottom line. I'm not going to say that he's a bad player. I think that he has some skills. And he dude can play. I'll just say that. I don't want to bash the dude, but I just don't think he fits the Detroit Lions. I'll just leave it at that. Grandma say if you ain't got nothing good to say, don't say too much. So. But yeah, he don't fit the culture here in Detroit, man. I could see why people are bringing him up in the conversation. I'm hearing things about he doesn't really fit New York as far as from a scheme standpoint. So. I don't know. I get it. They got Dexter. They got Burns, right? So he's not necessarily somebody that they need to have out there, but it would be interesting to see them let him go away and then losing Ojulari as well. How do they plan to replace him if they let him walk out of the door? But another worry for me is that dude's coming up on getting paid too. So what are we going to do? Bring another guy in that we're going to have to negotiate a contract with? I don't think that makes sense. You would have to be head over heels better than anybody that we might draft in this draft. And I don't know if that's the case, just based upon his production. And he's a guy who's been banged up here and there. So for those reasons, I'm also out on Tibido.
I got a question for you, William. This one's kind of directly related to us. Someone asked us, I think in yesterday's episode, or maybe the day before. I can't remember. I've seen it on Twitter. Twitter's where we get a lot of our news. That's where we get some information. I've heard it being talked about on 97.1 earlier today while I was riding around doing some errands, that the Detroit Lions should pretty much give every draft pick in this draft and future picks to move up. I'm telling you, it's out there to move to move up to move up to number 2 in the NFL draft or 3 and draft Abdul Carter. I know you like the player, but that's a high price tag, Will. So go ahead and explain.
Listen, so one thing I will say is this though. This is the one positive that I have about the question at all. When people talk about leveraging all of our draft picks and all of our draft to go get guys like Max Crosby and Trey Hendrickson, my immediate challenge is, okay, not only are we losing our whole draft, we're losing guys that we had on rookie deals. So it's like, man, we're going to lose all these guys that we could have had on rookie deals, contributing to our team, making things or keeping things financially responsible, like Brad says, right? Instead, we're going to bring a guy in who is going to cost us hundreds of millions of dollars immediately when we're about to pay Aiden Hutchinson, I don't know, more money than Bill Gates has ever seen. Right? So, you know what I mean? But I mean, virtually, you know what I mean? Obviously, I'm being facetious, but you know what I mean? Like it is.
Bezos, is that going to be his new name?
Right. It's gonna be silly. Like he's probably going to be taking Brad out to lunch. Like Brad's going to be loaning him money now. It's gonna be silly when that check gets cut. But the bottom line is this, man, that doesn't make sense to me. So would it make more sense to me to leverage all of our picks to go get somebody that you're going to have on a rookie deal for the next 5 years? Yes. Do I think that it's a good idea? No, I don't. Not at all. Like, no, not at all. And I don't think it's happening. I know there was even an article put out that people were saying that they thought that Brad was going to do whatever he needed to do to trade up and go get Abdul Carter and sure up this edge rush situation. It was going to be him and Hutch, and it was going to be crazy. Again, fun to speculate, fun to talk about, not going to happen. Again, that's another one for me that I would put in the negatives. I wouldn't even say 5%, 2%, no, -% chance that Abdul Carter is going to be a Detroit Lion after this draft, Steve. I almost don't even want to ask you if you agree, but I'll ask you, do you agree?
William, what if I package together Jameson Williams and Hendon Hooker and I move up somehow to pick 2 and I can get Abdul Carter? Does that interest you? Because I'm interested in Abdul Carter. I do think he's the best pass rusher in this draft, but he's way out of our range. Now, if I'm talking just draft picks, hard no. If I have to throw in Hendon Hooker in a couple of draft picks, maybe. Not future ones, but if I'm talking like, hey, we swapsies, I give you Hendon Hooker and maybe some sweeteners on top. I don't think that's going to be just enough. So whatever it else is, maybe. Well, and I'm saying maybe as in I'm leaning towards no, but purely just draft picks. You're saying I get one draft pick this year and it's Abdul Carter? No. If you're telling me that next year I cut my draft picks in a quarter because I had to give up some stuff for next year too, it's definitely no. I don't know. I'll just say this, Lions fan. Turn off the fucking video games, okay? This isn't Madden where you can just force trades through. And if you're just happy, playing with your thumbs and playing video games and you traded for Abdul Carter and Madden, that's great. That's fantastic. That's not how the real world works, okay? Brad Holmes is probably, if we brought this to him, if we were at a press conference, if we had media credentials and we asked this, we would probably be asked to leave the facility and be banned from site. Please do not return. Maybe consider being like a Chicago Bears podcast or something. I know Will's already 1 foot in that direction anyway, so maybe it's just something we have to look forward to. But I think if we brought that to Brad Holmes, that we would just get laughed out of the building. I don't know where Will went. He's disappeared. He's doing a Houdini trick or something on me here, and his microphone's muted.
You ran me back to Chicago, man. Like, but no, man. I agree with you 1,000%, man. I feel like all of these things are far-fetched. All of them are far-fetched, and I just can't get with any of them. But I will say, I do think that Brad is going to be out here making moves. I do think he's going to be out here willing and dealing. This just is not the willing and dealing that I think it's going to be. But yesterday we did a mock draft where we stayed put. and we ended up getting James Pierce Jr. And obviously, I'll say it again because I feel like we always need to preface this. This is obviously assuming that his background was passed and he was vetted well by the Detroit Lions. So I don't think Brad's going to draft someone with pick 28 that he's not sure about. But when you talk about a guy who could potentially be one of the most talented guys in the draft, you gotta be able to entertain that option there. So I shouldn't even say what I started thinking about. I've been thinking about it. It's been talked about a little bit. We haven't done a show on it, but what if the Detroit Lions went to a 3-4 defense, right? And what if we did draft James Pierce Jr.? And what if our linebacker core was now looking at Aiden Hutchinson standing up as a stand-up edge, right? Stand-up outside linebacker? What if James Pierce was standing up? What if as Alex Anzalone and Jack Campbell were the interior linebackers? Now, those defensive tackles just got interesting. Maybe DJ Reader's now just playing nose, right? Maybe his backup nose is now Roy Lopez. Yeah. Maybe these other guys like Josh Pascal and Levi Onwuzurike and Aleem McNeil when he comes back. Maybe these are guys, man, that just play that 3-4-5 technique, man. Like things get real interesting, and I think they get real tough on quarterbacks who want to run around and have funsy games when you got Aiden Hutchinson and a guy like James Pierce out there playing outside linebacker / outside edge, man. So as we were doing that draft yesterday, I started thinking about it more and more and more. And then I started thinking about the guys that we have on this team, how that could potentially be more of a fit than even I thought in the past. I do think there's a chance because Casey Rogers has a nice little history playing out there with a guy named Todd Bowles who likes to run that 3-front man, who's a defensive genius. So I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen. I'm not saying that that's what Shep's going to do, but I think there's a potential that you could see that 3-front. And I think this draft is going to really be pivotal and telling to what we're doing defensively. I know we're not going to know until we get into training camp and it starts getting leaked what we're lining up in camp. But, Steve, do you think that there's a potential that there could be a 3-front in the Detroit Lions future?
I'm with whatever works, Will. I just want this defense to be right on par with the offense. If that's what they think is going to work, by all means. I don't think we're that far away from having a good 3-4 defense. I'll just say this. The first, I don't know why. First name that popped into my head when we're talking about drafting and nose tackles was Desmond Watson out of Florida. And I'll jump off the Gordie Howe bridge if he's a Detroit Lion. So let's just stay away from that aspect of it. I have no interest, but it's a good question. It's a good conversation. And I was thinking it as you were talking, like, man, like we won't know that until training camp. I think that the draft could be a little tip of the hand on what we do if we're drafting some interesting players, and maybe we sit back and we think, maybe we are switching to a 3-4 defense, and it's not the end of the world. I know people in Detroit just hate change, but let's be a little bit open-minded if that's the way that it does decide to go, because it could be a really great defense. The 4-2-5 worked at times when fully healthy, but maybe this is something that could be a little bit better. But real quick on James Pierce Jr., there's a lot of people saying there's no way the Detroit Lions draft James Pierce Jr. Well, the betting odds are in your favor. And I don't recall us saying that he was our favorite pick in the draft. Well, he's not my number one. I don't know if he's your number one, but I think he's very, very interesting and intriguing and versatile. And if you pair him up with a player like Josiah Stewart, who a lot of people think don't fit the Detroit Lions, it just makes things interesting to us. Difference of opinions. I don't know. I saw some negative comments yesterday. You guys are entitled to it. We appreciate it. Kept it professional, and that's what we're all about. But neither one of those two players are my favorite two picks. All right. I just think that if you combine them together, you have some real creative problems for other teams. But I don't know. Well, we're about 48 hours away from the draft. Any other tidbits? Any other things you think might go down?
Yeah, actually, I just want to speak to that statement that you just made, man, because the bottom line is this for me. Here's what I need people to do, right? Listen to full thoughts. And I'm not trying to be a jerk when I say that, but a lot of times I think people listen to the first thing that you say or the first thing that they drafted James Pierce Jr. Man, and instead of listening to the conversation that's also transpiring while you're typing your comment, or they kind of shut their ears off and they start working. I'm not gonna say that I've never done it before, so I'm not being judgy, but a lot of times, sometimes when you respond to something, we're responding to an answer that was inside of the podcast if you're listening to it, right? So if you watch the podcast, you know that James Pierce isn't either one of our number one picks as far as the draft go. If you watch the podcast, you understand that Josiah Stewart is a guy who fits the Detroit Lions in a sense of the guy has versatility, positional versatility. So I'm not saying that, hey, Josiah Stewart is going to set the edge better than JTT. That's not what we got on and said yesterday or ever. But what I do stand on, and I do believe that Josiah Stewart has more positional versatility than JTT. JTT is going to be JTT. He's going to set the edge. He's going to be stout in the run game, period. And then maybe he'll grow into a pass rusher. He got one pass rush move right now. So if I'm talking between, depending on what I'm looking for, if I'm looking for a guy with positional versatility, it's Josiah Stewart 10 times out of 10. I'll argue that all day long. We can banter it any way you want to. We can get in the film. But I'm not saying that Josiah Stewart is the best edge or defensive player in the draft. But a lot of times we need to listen to the full thought, and maybe, you know, some of the, if you see that we did an exclusive show on some of these players, maybe go back and see what we talked about in that show, because a lot of the times it's just based on what was said. James Pierce, these guys, you know, they don't understand that Brad will never, he didn't even have an interview, or he didn't have this, he didn't, you know. So guys, a lot of times I'll say it again. There was no release that Jack Campbell or Jahmyr Gibbs had an interview. Somehow they ended up on our team. You know what I mean? So you don't understand, or you don't know everybody who the Detroit Lions interview. It doesn't get put out because it's not required of the teams to be put out. Some of them get released, some of them don't. It's a little bit of gamesmanship. Some of these guys are putting it on their social media. I'm sure the ones that they want to keep a secret, especially guys like Jahmyr Gibbs, I'm sure they were like, hey, Jahmyr, listen,
please keep this on the down low.
Yeah, we're going to keep this on the hush, man, because if we get our hands on you, if we get the opportunity, we're pulling the trigger. You know what I mean? So just keep that in mind, guys. It's like some of the time we just got to get that whole thought out. Now, if you listen to the whole thought and we sound like idiots, please do your thing. Like, do your thing. But it does get a little bit, I ain't even going to say frustrating. It's almost like, almost want to leave it hanging sometimes when seconds later, the answer to the comment or the contradiction to the comment was right there in the pot.
Yeah, you leave a comment 3 minutes into the episode, but I know that the answer was given at the 9-minute mark. Just stick around. Watch the whole episode. That's all we're asking. Anything else for tonight, Will?
No, excited, man. Hopefully tomorrow we can get back to the move up, move back before the draft gets here. I'm excited to talk about that. I think that, honestly, that's more probable than us just selecting at pick 28. I think we'll either be moving up in this draft or moving back, man. I think we talked off air a little bit. We got some nice ideas, and we got to get this stuff out here so Brad can watch it before the draft actually unfolds, man. He's got to know what he needs to do. You know what I mean? So that's all I got.
2 new members, had to look them up. I didn't have the list of up at the beginning of the show. Deontay Moore rejoining. He's been a member before. Appreciate that. And Mr. Phillips. 2 new members. I think that puts us at 61 now. So we're 61% of the way there. We hit 100 members. Massive giveaway. If you don't know how to become a member, look, it's on Google. It's on YouTube. It's in every single description in our video. Will, you know why I'm saying this. I'm not going to out anyone. The person watching this, I'll know if you watched it. Become a member. You're right. It's not a guarantee that you win anything, but it makes your odds a little bit better. We like to give to those who support us. It's much appreciated, not required. Stick around, hit that like button. We'll be back tomorrow. Final mock draft.
Peace.